Okay, now I showed the application in the first technique of going into the strength of the thumb. I also mentioned earlier that the second way you could hit it was coming downward. This works better on softer tissue like the stomach 9 in the front of the sternocleidoid muscle, or on the side at large intestine 18. Could you turn this way? Now, striking down onto the stomach 9 or the large intestine 18, they would both react similarly if I strike them similarly. Now, one of the kinetic energy uses of this hand position in all the G hands is that I'm not just shooting my hand out or my arm. I'm not using just my arm. I need to send a little bit more energy through the kinetics than just my arm motion. Okay, because if you watch anything on slow motion, say you throw a punch, okay, in fast motion it looks like the hand sticks straight, comes straight out in a very linear fashion. But when you watch it in slow motion, you'll actually see the arm has a traveling. That's because the certain muscles of the arms are pulling at different times. It will lift as the bicep gets into action. It will drop as the tricep gets into action. So that's why you have that wave pattern going on. What I need to do is have that force coming forward, but I don't want my force coming at the target this way. I want my force to come into a very sharp, short transmission of energy, or kinetics. And how I do that is with my hand. If I'm striking straight, which you might not have seen on the prior technique, it might have looked like my hand just went straight up. But what happened was my hand flicked out. And that caused that little bit, that short motion, which is going to be a lot more straight and a lot more focused kinetic energy going into the target. Okay? This will be with all the hand positions. So the motion is more with the wrist twisting. Now, there are actually ancient martial arts, like White Crane Kung Fu, that will come out into that posture, and there's a very distinct motion. Okay? That's what we're using here. Now, on this targeting, I'm going to be striking with this aspect of the thumb. So what I want to do is I want to do a transfer downward. Okay? It's not going to be my arm striking like I was striking with a ridge hand. Now, that's possible, but I also want to show you that if I'm coming through this action and my arm is extended, there's a good chance of pulling a muscle. There's also a weakness because my hand is coming out this way, my elbow can lock, and I can hyperextend. Okay, so what I want to do is save myself and just keep the energy in for a short transfer with the thumb. That way my arm is more protected and it's also more relaxed. So I'm not trying to go with force this way, which tightens the muscles here, which fights the energy that's going into the opponent. I want to just make a quick little twist so my arm is relaxed, and at the last second there's a drop. And this is what's going to make the kinetic energy go into the body just a little easier. So when I'm striking stomach 9, I'm going to strike on large intestine 18 for the safety. But when I strike, my thumb is going to actually come in and down to cause the effect. Okay. Can you sit up? No. Okay. Now, a lot of times you see in the prior films and in seminars, okay, 1 second, please. Back. Okay. You're going to see the person attempts to get up. Now, I'm not trying to knock these people completely unconscious. There's no use for it. I mean, this is the 16th film. You've seen the Kyusho. Most of the people that have already seen the DVDs have also gone to a seminar and they've experienced the Kyusho. They know it's real. But what I wanted to show is even though he was able to slap out from his prior training, okay, he was not able to fight. You saw his legs jump up off the floor. He didn't fall down. He jumped up and then came down. You also noticed that when we sit people up, it looks like they're trying to get up or they're still awake, and they are. They're only at a level 2 state of unconsciousness. But as I asked him this time, I think this is the first time I've done this on the DVDs, as I asked him to get up, and he said he couldn't because the body is dysfunctioned. The nervous system is shocked so that there's no energy really strengthening the muscles of the legs, the torso, or the arms so he can press himself up. And that's why we sit the person up ourselves to revive them. So that's a little bit more on the kinetic energy involved in the iron bone.
Now the G hands are very important, and here's a couple of examples why. First of all, we see the nerve here. This is the transverse cervical nerve. If I click on that, you'll start to see that's the transverse cervical nerve. Here you have the great auricular nerve, great auricular, and down here you have the supraclavicular, and that intersperses. Now when you strike typically with a ridge hand, what you're going to be doing is striking in this area, and of course you can attack these two nerves. And they're okay, but they're pretty superficial. You'll get motor responses or dysfunction. But you see this muscle here, the sternocleidoid mastoid muscle, is actually protecting the deeper nerves. And how we get into that deeper nerve structure is going to be with an iron bone hand, because you have that sharp knuckle. Now, let's zoom in on this again. This muscle right here, if we fade this, you're going to start to see there's a lot of deep nerve plexuses down and through here, and that's what we really want to attack, not the superficial nerves. Superficial nerves are fine, but they don't carry as strong a message as a deeper nerve. So let's hide this muscle for a second, and let's see what we could be striking. We could be striking the C3 spinal nerve. Okay, you could be striking the phrenic nerve, which is what causes the diaphragm to contract and expand, and how a person breathes. You also have the communicating branches, which go into the supraclavicular nerves. You also have the great auricular nerve that ties into this nerve structure here, and also the, where am I going? There we go, communicating branches. So you can see that it gets deep inside. All right, let's bring back the muscles here for a second, and let's hide this one again. So you can start to see that, I'll show that, and let's just fade it. You can see that these muscles are protecting this very important nerve plexus right in through here. And again, your ridge hand is not going to be able to affect that. Okay, you're going to have to get in with a sharper instrument, which is the iron bone, and why we have such great results on our techniques. And that's the difference between striking with conventional karate or martial arts weapons and the special weapons of the 6G hands of the Shaolin. This is also the difference between using pressure points, which are going to be just out here on the surface, and why learning real Kyusho will get you deeper into those structures, because you're not thinking about hitting surface. You're thinking about hitting deep below the surface and what we can affect inside. Okay, and with pressure point technology and the pressure points themselves being all surface layers, okay, you're going to be striking maybe these two nerves here, okay, but you're not going to be getting deep inside to these other structures that we're looking for in the real Kyusho, and that the iron bone hand can access.